I guess I have like my mom to thank. Hi, Mom. Shout out my mom. I made it, Mom.
And how did you guys link up with some of the collaborators you're working with now, Travis Barker being one of them?
We've done shows with Travis throughout his career, yeah.
What was that
Yeah,
experience
Travis was playing
like?
for the Aquabats.
Aquabats, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And Bud walked him over to the Blink camp
Opie, yeah.
and said, "Hey man, this guy, you guys are better than that drummer."
A lot of people in my demographic, young women, discovered Sublime as maybe through that Lana Del Rey cover of Doin Time. Were y'all involved in it?
I did the bass on it.
Really? Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So were you there with like Jack Antonoff or any of the people who were working on that record?
I wasn't jacking off. What are you talking
I
about?
was gonna say the same thing.
We're here with one of America's all-time great bands, Sublime, and we're gonna kick it off the only way the Billboard knows how, with a Billboard moment. You guys, what is your favorite Billboard moment, whether it's a chart thing, a past interview you've done with us, anything like that?
From what I remember, it was the Billboard Awards show that we played with Slayer and some other bands, and then we got an award. Nice. It was a lot of years ago, so I don't remember that much about it, but it was a lot. You know.
Yeah.
It was a whole heap of fun.
You guys started this off as a high school band, and I'm wondering, what was your intention?
High school dropout band.
High school dropout band, there you go. What was your intention with the band from the beginning? Was it a hobby that you and your friends were just doing for fun, or did you have the aspiration to be an internationally successful band?
No, we just wanted to play some cool music, and all the kids were into
And
it.
girls' phone numbers.
Did it work?
It did.
Okay.
It doesn't get any more authentic than that,
I
man.
love
I love
that.
hearing the old classic stories of where it started, because it's like a lot of people look for that kind of authenticity in music, and man, I've heard it all, like, back in the day in Long Beach, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, and how do you feel like their story of growing up in Long Beach kind of matched with your own growing up in Long Beach? And
Oh, I mean, it's crazy, let alone it being like a similar area, but you just see so many kids from my generation and now like the newest generation. I think that's what makes music timeless, when you're just talking about the stuff that's happening around you, and the actual sound of it just feels like something you could hear walking down the street, someone blasting while they're, riding on a bike or a skateboard or whatever. So to that effect, it almost feels like, nothing's changed. That's what being timeless feels like to me, for sure.
I love that. You guys are so intertwined with like Southern California culture as a band, and I feel like local scenes are so important. It feels like nowadays that a lot of local scenes are kind of like online scenes instead of things that happen in real life. So I'm wondering if y'all could reflect on that and how you think it affects music, that kids are not really building local scenes as much
When
now.
we were kids, we all hung out on the street and got in trouble and stuff. Right? Like we didn't want to be in the house at all. But then the cops got like a task force where they had these FI cards, they called them, and you're walking down the street and they're pull you over and check your ID, try to make you cry or something, and then they write your name on the FI card, and then it starts to pile up. And, and
so they're like tagging teenagers.
Yeah, it got rid of the whole punk scene everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, if I didn't have like music, I'd probably be in prison, because all my friends were getting arrested when I was at band practice.
That affects the crowd size in your early years if all of your friends are in jail. So who were some of y'all's early inspirations growing up when you first started the band? You were trying to find your sound.
Bands from around Redondo Beach, like Black Flag was a huge influence, and the Descendants and the Minutemen, that's just here.
And then, all the reggae greats, like Bob Marley and Peter Tosh.
There's a lot of people locally that listen to all of the influences I just described, but few people who can blend it all together. So why it's exciting for me to sing in a project like this, because you're just like, once you start picking it apart and you notice like, oh, no way, that's that one riff that I heard in this song. It's so cool, man.
I find that to be quite interesting, because nowadays we're kind of seeing it flipped. Like, kids are recording music first and then learning how to play live.
Oh, dude, that's so true.
Yeah.
They don't even think about that. They record in their bedroom first, and they're like, wait, I got to get a band together?
Yeah.
Well, it was the opposite for us.
Yeah.
We just jammed in our garage, and the whole recording thing was a privilege, like to find someone to record us and all that.
In your early years, Collaborators, you were releasing on your own label, Skunk Records.
Yeah, we just made it up.
Yeah, wait, so how did that come to be? Why did y'all decide to do indie at the time? Was it just because you couldn't find like a major that was a good fit, or how did that work?
Like, for one thing, we didn't play anything that was anybody else was doing. And record labels aren't willing to, take the chance on if it's gonna get big or not. We just made up our own shit, and then we just started building our own following, selling stuff out of the trunk of the car, and we were starting to make some money, and that's when the record labels were like, well, hey, we can't have them make money without us making money,
What were those like first label conversations like? Were y'all just like, what the heck is happening? Or
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, some of them were like total vampires. We're gonna own everything. We'll take this, and you'll have nothing and like it, kid. And then some of them were just like, well, what do you expect us to do with you? I mean, you don't sound like anybody on our label. What do you want us to do with you?
for this upcoming project, are y'all releasing it independent or?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so how did y'all decide on that as like the right solution and the right way forward?
I think people are seeing that that's sort of the direction things are going. I'm sure, not to get too crazy with it, but labels definitely still have their place for some people's path. But for us, I was so inspired by all the legends and myths I heard growing up about how they just, like you said, like Skunk Records, almost like this made-up label kind of thing. So I wanted to make up my own label, and we call it Sunburnt Records. And it's more about, putting on shows and trying to create valuable memories for people that are less disposable. Mm-hmm. And when you do a record independently, I think it is just that. It becomes a little bit less disposable, and it's more personal to us as a band and the fans who it's for.
And how did you guys link up with some of the collaborators you're working with now, Travis Barker being one of them? How did that conversation begin?
We've done shows with Travis throughout his career, yeah.
And y'all were part of like really, really early Warped Tour, right? So
yeah,
what was the very first one?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. What was that
Yeah,
experience
Travis was playing
like?
for the
Aquabats, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And Bud walked him over to the Blink camp
Opie, yeah.
and said, "Hey man, this guy, you guys are better than that drummer."
I swear to God, dude, Travis told me the same story too. It's like it actually happened like that. They just go way back. You'd be surprised, and he's Travis is like the biggest Sublime fan ever too. Like their music is just, when you make genuine music, it like wide net. It touches so many people who go on to be inspired by it and create their own.
Heading back into the past, so you were part of the first Vans Warped Tour. You guys were playing locally and building up just kind of a grassroots following on your own, not playing by any rules, making exactly the kind of music you wanted. Unfortunately, Bradley, his father, passed away just before the third album was released. What was the aftermath of the third album like? Because it's a celebratory moment that y'all had been waiting for, but it was in such a dark time for the band. So
That pretty much sums it up.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely, bittersweet. A lot of success on that album. It was a banger album, so, we were just super excited.
But it just, it was just a bummer at the same time,
Did you guys anticipate that was going to be the album that took things off? Was there a lot of anticipation for you guys ahead of it? Or?
Yeah, definitely. This was our first big production, our first major
Yeah, as soon as we played it back on the first recording, we were just like...
Yeah, we were so excited, like just leaving the studio the first time with the working demo. We all popped it in our cars, driving around, just like bumping it.
When you're playing live so often, you build such a chemistry with the players that you're playing with. And I'm wondering what it was like to introduce Jakob to the band all these years later. Did you feel like instant chemistry between the three of you, or did it take some time?
It was pretty seamless. I remember when we were talking about it, we were originally doing this as a tribute. And I think it was you that said, well, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. I know I can jam with Bud, but can we jam with Jakob? It's good to put together in a studio and see how it'll work, and that's
give it a try.
Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, did you expect that call, or were you just shocked by it?
No, I mean, yes and no. Like it was just cool. Yeah, they wanted to do this tribute thing. They asked me to come and sing, and we wanted to get in there and make sure it was a good fit. And I think when we jammed, we just all got goosebumps, and it was cool and it made sense. for me, I take the position super seriously, even though you still want it to be like fun and chaotic and goofing around and trying to do justice and learn the songs accurately and be able to sing good and be charismatic and entertaining. And so now, like, I think we're probably like a year into doing this with this lineup.
Yeah.
And
1 year.
yeah, dude. Now every show is just like off to the races. It's just a blast. We just did Red Rocks.
Yeah,
So much fun.
We did so many songs.
Yeah, we did something. We played for like 30 minutes over our set time.
That sounds like a really fun show. I mean, how was that Coachella show?
That one I was nervous for, and I don't usually get nervous for sets, but it's
Well,
just
that was our
'cause-
second show.
Yeah, it was like right after HR, and I was like, oh, come on. We
I was
practiced
nervous
so
for
hard.
him.
Yeah.
Eric,
You guys
Eric
set
and
a
I have
rap.
played, big shows before, and it's
I'd
like
done nothing
we
like that.
we vibe off of the crowd.
Yeah.
We feed back off that crowd energy. So it's the more the merrier kind of thing for us. It was like, wow, I wonder how Jake's gonna do up there with all these people.
Trial
Is
by
he gonna
fire.
thrive or? But Jake's got great stage skills. His
Thanks,
crowd
man.
control is amazing. I picked up on that the first time you came through Reno, when I saw you there. The first one of the first Castle shows,
One of the first times my band ever played.
and just took control of the crowd, and he grabbed everybody and included them into the show. He was like, hey, who's that guy back there in the back? The guy with the hat? Yeah, no, you with the big smile. Yeah, that guy right there. Yeah, this song's
love
for
doing
you,
that.
buddy.
And I still try to do that stuff when it gets bigger. Just what he said about how they as a band like feed off the crowd. I learned from my uncles, you know what I mean? I learned how to do that kind of stuff and to be more comfortable.
Yeah.
I think we played that, what was it, WSL, that surf one? And I remember I think it was like same in the end, I had this moment where I was like completely out of my body kind of experience.
Yeah.
And I remember I mentioned it to Eric afterwards, you were like, yeah, man, that's kind of like the whole point of Sublime.
I felt it on that song too.
Yeah.
And how did you prepare for going into that first rehearsal? I mean, I imagine you knew most of the songs already and...
No, I did.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I imagine you probably haven't played them.
I knew
at
some
least.
deep. I knew them because like my mom would play, and I do. When I was a kid, just like a lot of teenagers, I would listen to it because it was just awesome music, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
no way, my dad and my family really made that so cool. A lot of times people say I sound like my dad, which I hope to at times because I want it to be authentic, but sometimes I don't fucking hear it at all. Like he
Yeah.
was such you can never compare to the original singer of any band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody's got their unique take on things. So for me, it's just more about respect. Like this is such a OG band that it's just fun to get to even go up there and do it.
Yeah. As we've talked about a little bit throughout this, Sublime kind of has a sound that can't be pinned down. How are you guys thinking about coming back? Do you feel like you can kind of play with whatever you want now and the sky's the limit?
It's an exciting time. I think that like Sublime was one of those bands that was formative for exactly what you just said, is that like everything goes in cycles and stuff like that, but now we're seeing this era where people are very nostalgic for 90s and early 2000s aesthetics, but also sensibilities. And the sensibility of those eras was like, let's just mash everything we like together. As far as us getting in the studio and jamming on new stuff or reworking old stuff or adding in some of our friends on tracks, that's always the goal, is to keep that OG spirit alive.
And y'all are preparing to do quite a few festivals, right? And you're choosing to do that over kind of a traditional tour.
Yeah, I think so. I think it makes it more special and stuff. And then, my band Jacob's Castle and the whole Sunburnt Records crew, we still put on smaller shows for the people that can't make it out to the big dates, and we'll jam a bunch of Sublime songs and stuff.
Yeah,
But
I got a band called Spray Allen.
Spray Allen's part
Same
of that.
thing.
Do you have a tour scheduled ahead for them?
Yeah, we're playing the Warped Tour. There's like 1 or 2 shows of that, but and a bunch of clubs and stuff like that this summer.
Yeah, we're putting them on some dates of our Burnt Tour, going over mostly East Coast dates. And then as far as like the big shows, I think a big part of it is just like, really reestablishing Sublime as just like a dominant alternative rock force, you know what I mean? Like there's tons of awesome, reggae shows out there, that sort of Cali reggae scene and vibe, and a bunch of bands and festivals. Those are all cool and stuff like that, but I see Sublime playing, festivals like Beach Life, Punk at the Park is really cool. We did Riot Fest last year. The type of fans that I love are the people that when you ask them what kind of music they listen to, they say, I listen to everything, and they mean it. They listen to everything.
Yeah. You guys have this Vegas takeover coming up. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
No, it'll be fun. It's like 3 nights. Pennywise is going to be there, Atari's, Just James Pariah, Zeno. It's going to be fun. It's going to have that family jam feel. And we're gonna go crazy. I, for one, I do love Vegas, the city, but I also I always end up losing money there. I'm just not a good gambler. So I'm just gonna try to maybe just play a little bit of slots and blackjack and poker, and that's it. And then the roulette, and then that's it.
Give yourself a limit
And then
like going in. I mean, during this kind of streaming era that we're in now, I mean, I think one way a lot of people in my demographic, young women, discovered Sublime is maybe through that Lana Del Rey cover of Doin Time.
Summertime and the living's easy.
I absolutely love that cover. I'm wondering, did you guys have a heads up about it? Were y'all involved in it?
I did
in
the
any way?
bass on it.
Really? Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So were you there with like Jack Antonoff or any of the people who were working on that record?
I wasn't jacking off. What are you talking about?
I was gonna say the same thing.
No, I just came in. There was already like some drum. Josh did the drums on it. Josh Freeze. He had already done that like a week before, and there was a guitar and something else, and I just put the bass on and split.
What are you guys most looking forward to about this upcoming rollout?
Just all of it, man. You know, just having stuff out there, and just if people are enjoying it, then that'll be. It's like Schrodinger's box. Like I'll know I'm happy if everyone else is. You know.
It's funny because I'll find myself like humming along to one of the songs that we wrote, and it's a different one. Not every time, but it's a different one. Often, you know, it switches up. So it's telling me that, you know, I'm really excited about it coming out. You know, this is like the first time I've felt like the self-titled album. Like I said, I'll start humming it to myself, and so there's a lot of good tunes on this album.
I look forward to when Bud just gets on this high plane on the fills and stuff, and just blows me away, and then
That's so rad.
I feed off of that. You know, we get a few moments like that every show, I think.
Thank you so much for chatting with me about your new project. I can't wait to hear it all.
We can't be responsible for anything you do while listening to Sublime.